Oh, yes, sorry.
All right. Today is Thursday, August 27th. This is our weekly, or actually fortnightly, meeting on design and usability issues. Before we get to things in the agenda, let's go around and do a quick set of introductions. Tim, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Tim, St. Paul Tim, coming from Deerwood, Minnesota. I'm still reluctant to say I still feel like I'm from Minneapolis, St. Paul, but I'm up in Deerwood in the screen tent and here to talk about some usability issues that we want to get into the next release in 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks. That's it. Who's next? Luke?
Luke,
Sure. I'm Luke McCormick. I'm a web product manager in San Ramon, California, and I'm an artist in my off times.
I just had this great idea. Maybe every person who introduces themselves should call on the next person to introduce themselves.
Yes.
Agree?
Luke, who do you want to go next?
Agree.
All right. Hi, I'm Greg. I'm joining from Greece. Sorry about the dog barking outside. I'm joining as every week just to see how I can help with design and everything related to Backdrop. Joseph?
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm kind of just here to listen and see if I can help with anything. And I think Jen is the last person.
Yep, I'm Jen Lampton, calling from Oakland, California, and I'm excited about all of the issues Gregory and Tim have added to the agenda today. First section of the agenda is the theme initiative update. I don't know, Luke, if you want to say anything at this time.
It hasn't moved in a couple of weeks. I've been busy with my new day job, so feeling the pressure there to get something done. So at the moment it's stalled. Like it's actually kind of genuinely stalled. I need to figure out a way to start it up again.
Okay. There are 3 issues that we have on our agenda specifically related to the theme initiative. It doesn't look like there's been any progress on any of them recently. Does anyone know if we actually have an issue created in the backdropcms.org queue for some solution for previewing themes, or have we talked about that so far only in meetings? I couldn't find the link. We don't know. Okay, we'll look for it. If it doesn't exist, we'll make one.
Well, I'll remind you, we also set up an issue queue called like a demo issue queue that's separate for this project. And I created a couple issues there that I haven't looked at in weeks. But.
Okay. If you could you find a link to that issue queue and just throw it into this agenda?
Yep.
So that we can follow up on those weekly as needed. That'd be
Working
great.
on it.
Okay. And then moving on to product issues. We have a handful of user experience issues, starting with getting promoted modules and themes into the installer. I haven't done anything on these. I'm going to check and see if anyone else has been working on them lately. No. So that one has a lot of moving parts we know about. Next one, move the clear log messages button to the bottom of the DB log page. That issue has more than 100 comments on it. People feel very strongly about it. We had talked, I think, at our last design meeting about trying to come up with a process for conflicts like this.
Yeah, we said that we would get advice from a design person at some point.
That would be a good idea. I also think we have, I think we talked about it in the PMC queue about how the project management committee could help issues so that they don't have to go on for 100 comments. And I think the process we decided is that at some point, someone should ask, does anyone here want this escalated to the PMC for a decision? And if the answer is yes, then we open a PMC issue saying, can we please help this? I think asking a designer would be great if we have anyone in the community that wants to weigh in on that. But I think that might also, like sometimes we ask a designer and then they give us another option that like we hadn't considered, and it's hard. So I think maybe it would be good just to escalate that and be like, let's just get a decision, do something, close this issue. And then if we have more stuff we want to do later, open another issue. And at least just try and make some progress on it so that we aren't kind of spinning our wheels. I think that spinning the wheels thing can cause burnout. So Gregory, I don't know if you want to be the one to ask if that should be escalated, but that might be helpful.
Yeah, yeah, I'll probably can add a comment there.
Okay. All right. Next issue.
Would it make, I'm just thinking, I know we talked about like who we should do that before. Would it make sense to like, I'm just thinking like, if there's somebody that's been working really hard on the PR, would it be good to ask them like, hey, how would you feel about us taking this?
I think that's fine. I think in that case, I rolled the most recent PR and I don't really have any strong feelings on it. But especially if it is one person that's been like continually redoing stuff, asking them would be good. Yeah. Most of the case when that happens, it's usually like Doc Wilmot or BW Panda or something. And so I think, as long as it's one of the people that's like not going to be offended, then, and we know that, then I think it's fine to sort of ask the whole queue. But yeah, I also think like if you ask the one person that's rolling the PR and they are in the minority, that might also create some conflict. I don't know. I think it would just be good.
Then,
yes.
I see only there's 3 PRs in there. There's an old one by Opie, one by me, and then one that's being closed by Inti Gozella, if I'm pronouncing the thing. And that's closed. So I think that the only open ones currently are mine and Opie's. Do you have another one?
I thought I just saw a comment in there that said I'd re-rolled it, but maybe not. I might have misread it. That's fine. Yeah. So if you want to specifically address the people who've created pull requests for that and ask them if they wanted to escalate it to the PMC, that would be fine. Yeah. I also think like if we ask that question and other people answer, we should listen to them too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see. Next issue is better help text for layout path field. That's a temporary improvement while we're working on something else. Tim, this is your issue. Do you want to give us an update? I don't know.
I forgot about this one. Let me look at it really quick. I'm opening it up right now. Is this one have a pull request already? No, but it has some suggested text. Yeah, let's talk about that one really quick because a pull request is minutes of work, and but I opened that issue right. So I guess if I put this on the agenda, I forgot I had. Which is this the current one in the first screenshot, or is that my suggestion? Oh, I think so I wanted to do a taxonomy term path, and I struggled for too long. I should have figured it out much quicker. And it just occurred to me that there's like 3 or 4 really commonly used paths other than Node. And we've got some UI ideas that will eliminate this problem in the future. But in the meantime, just having like a taxonomy example, and I think I put I suggested user and taxonomy, and Gregory added comment as well.
So these are the 4 that are being discussed for that other issue as well.
Yeah, and I think other people have suggested that something like that would be helpful to them. And I don't think we're going to fix the other UI problem in the next few weeks. So, does it make sense to do a quick help text improvement?
I also remember that Jen, you said that we should remove the word wildcard because it gets confusing for people for the percentage thing.
Just added that comment.
Yes, did you add it?
Yeah, like while Tim was explaining, I'm like, wildcard. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think placeholder. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that before.
Well, it sounds to me like at least both of you, Gregory and Jen, I don't know if anybody else has any opinions, would support even a temporary quick fix to this help text. And you both made some suggestions. So why don't I do a PR that incorporates both of your comments, and then hopefully we can get some feedback on it. It'll be easy to modify and fix.
Yeah.
Were you thinking to put the examples just in a single row of help text, or mention them on like a list?
I hadn't thought it through that far. Do you have a preference?
Okay.
I was also thinking like putting them in a bulleted list might be helpful.
Yes.
Okay.
It's more scannable.
So I probably would have been reluctant to do that only because I wasn't sure if people would like it. But if you guys like it, I think it sounds good to me. So
it has pros and cons.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think it's definitely more readable and more scannable. So that's my preference, but it does take up a lot more room on the page, which I think people might not want. But I think we should give it a try and see what people think.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's in what you call it. It will match the select button that we will have, or we're thinking to have for the UI improvement. Because in the improvement, we are thinking of having people select those from a select list, right?
That's true. We'll be training people ahead of time what they'll see in the future.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent point.
Prelude of what's coming.
So in general, I mean, that like how much, if 3 or 4 of us, if nobody objects, if I do a pull request and nobody objects, is that kind of enough unanimity, or do we need to get more people to comment on this?
I think that's probably enough because a core committer will come and comment on it too.
Okay. It's also easy to change, so it's not like we're
I think in general, with most changes in Backdrop, it's better to make them and then make more rather than like try and hold something up for more feedback. Only when, like, if there are people who don't agree, then it's good to get more feedback. But if you got like 3 people who are like, looks good, then I think it's probably fine.
Okay.
Yes, and also mockups and pull request sandboxes work better when people actually see what you're describing,
right?
And they can test it. Yeah.
I agree. Okay.
Yeah, it may seem that some people are of the opinion that you shouldn't move to a PR until we have the acceptance criteria or whatever specified, but I'm of the opinion that file 2 or 3 separate pull requests, people can play and choose, and then we'll close the irrelevant ones.
Yeah, the next one is a very similar kind of issue.
Allow better description of comment title.
Yes. Should I explain that one quick? Do you understand it?
There's a checkbox on the content type form that just says allow comment title under comment setting.
Right. So the thing is, I mean, I think it's a different bug and it's a different issue. Is that by default, Backdrop always shows comment titles, regardless of whether this checkbox is checked or not.
Oh.
So to me, this is really misleading. What this really means is allow the user to set a custom comment title. So if this is not checked, then Backdrop just makes up its own comment title. If this is checked, the user has the option to change it. But there's going to be a comment title no matter what. You can't prevent that, which I think is a bug because it's really stupid to have a 1-line comment that basically gets repeated twice, you know, as a title and a comment. And I'm sure you can hack the templates, you know, easily to fix that. But through the UI, you can't, as far as I can tell. So that's a different issue, which probably won't get solved in the next week. But in the meantime, we could at least just clarify this button.
The label,
So
label.
There's a question there about, like, if the bug is that the comment title is shown when it shouldn't be, then this label is fine. But if the question is like, do you want to customize the title, then this label is wrong. So I think we need to decide like what we want Backdrop to do before we can decide what the label of the action should be. So like if we decide that Backdrop is fine the way it is and we aren't going to remove the title, then allowing a title would be like both allow you to enter and allow you to show it. And I think it's clear enough. I mean, maybe we still need to clarify it, but at least the language would be really different than if it was like, we're going to show one regardless, and this is a customized option rather than a allow or disallow option. So do you feel that...
How does it work on in Drupal 7, or is that checkbox missing completely there?
No, there's still an option in 7.
Okay, so this is an option that we inherited, and it works a certain way. So we should assume that people are used to what it does. We just need to improve it to
Yeah.
actually
So
say what it does.
Indigo Azalea, I'm trying to get that right. Put a comment, and she said Alan Mells originally reported this, and Indigo Azalea looked, and it says, interesting question. The setting allow comment title really only handles the ability to set subjects manually. It's not meant to handle the display. So apparently the code is not set up to really hide titles. It doesn't look like that's what the code was intended to do. But I think that's a mistake.
Yeah,
but that's a different issue.
I also think it's a mistake, but it's a mistake that, as Gregory pointed out, it's going to be really hard to fix right now, because if people have already done a bunch of stuff assuming it behaves the way it does, and we change the current behavior.
No, I agree. So at least fix the label then.
Okay, so let's start by fixing the label to at least show what it does. And then if we do decide to change the comment behavior, which I agree with you, Tim, I think it's sort of weird the way it is now.
Yeah.
That might be a 2.x change, where we can, we'll have an opportunity to be like, this will hide the display of your comment title. Or it could be like a hidden setting somewhere that like new installs get it, not, the way we want it, and old installs get it the way it is now.
Yeah, and hiding it sounds like we have a comment display on its node. So it sounds more like a place for that part of the UI, the admin UI, whereas this checkbox now resides on the content type settings. So I think, and the rest of the settings there are allow users to do that, or hide it, or force user to do that, basically.
Well, I opened another issue for allow admin to hide the title and comments. And I think what we're talking about now goes into that issue, and we should deal with that later. But for now, so I'll, I just suggested, instead of allow comment title, allow custom comment title. Actually, I think Alan Mell suggested that. And I'll do a pull request with that in mind. And if anybody has an improvement on it, then that's fine. We can make it better. But
I think and I think this is also a good one. Like, it'll be really easy to get in for 117.
Good. Yeah, that was my hope.
Nice. Okay, so that's all of our usability issues, unless, Greg, you have a handful you want to throw in.
I always have. Just let me just randomly go through the ticket queue. So one that was recent was that about I think I mentioned it during the part where we were discussing before we started the recording. So there's one about allowing an admin label on all blocks. This is an old sort of like pain. That's issue number 4558.
Allow all blocks to have admin label.
Oh, yeah. Do you have? I think this is the one that Doc Wilmot just did the pull request for, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
This is I think a great issue to fix. Doc Wilmot did a really quick fix, but it turns out it's a flawed approach. And it'd be nice if we could modify it, but I don't know how complicated that's going to be. Do you have an idea, Gregory, what the better solution?
Yeah. So it's not a flawed approach. It's more that it didn't take into account that there's for a specific kind of blocks, which is the reusable blocks, we already have an administrative title. So if we were adding that arbitrarily to all blocks, including those reusable ones, there would be some duplication of asking people to do a similar or mostly similar thing. So we need to consolidate that. And I think we should allow Doc Wilmot to do that, because he said that he didn't think about that and he'll reassess.
Right. Do you have any idea how complicated that is? Because what he did is kind of add another field to all blocks. And really what we want to do is just make better use of the existing field, right?
Yes. So there's depending on how much consistency we want to have, because the the one that was added to all blocks is just a field set at the end after the visibility conditions, which is just fine. But then the current one that we have for the reusable blocks is just below, I think, the content. I can't remember. I think just before, after the content, the rich text editor. And it gets disabled once you enable it, as you cannot remove it. You cannot reset it. So there's an easy fix. You can check if the block is a reusable block, and then don't render that field set at all, and don't save another type. But I haven't actually worked on it, so yeah, it shouldn't be extremely hard, but yeah, just need to think all.
Well, but this is probably a new feature, so it would, or not? It's in a bug fix, so would that have to be in by Tuesday? And does Doc Wilmot have time? So
it fixes. It's a UX task in what it fixes, as in.
But it
we
might,
need a way to but it adds something new though. Yeah, it adds something new to every block, which is a feature.
Yep.
So
yeah,
depending on how you see it.
I think it's got to get in by the first if it needs
Yeah.
tests.
that makes sense.
So my proposal there is, for consideration, is that a field set maybe at the very end is, it's maybe too much, because the only thing that the field set, and you pointed it out as well, Tim, that it's a field set and it has the same field set title and then the same label for the single text field that is there. So views handles that in a nice way. Just below I have a screenshot there. What it does is that you give a view a name, and then you have an option for ticking a checkbox which says description, and that reveals another text box, which you can add where you can add a thing. So this also solves another pet peeve of mine, because with the current design we say defaults to the block title if left blank. I don't like how this is a Drupalism, and I would like us to get rid of all these things, just leave blank or put none here to do this or that. So Views fixes it in a nice way. If you want to add a description, you just tick the box and there you go.
Uh-oh, did we lose Greg? Do you have
My
more
daughter
issues?
just no, my daughter just came back. I just wanted a kiss.
I was like, I'm sure you have more issues though.
Oh, I have more issues. Yeah, just let me know. There's more issues. Look, we have another close to 20 minutes. If I'll probably let anyone else speak, and then I'll just
come back.
I have many. Like, if you guys have any favorite ones that need a decision or something.
So under design issues, Tim has one. This is better defaults for page layouts. So I think this is default positioning of elements on the page.
Yes, basically it was more complicated. I've simplified it to simply move the breadcrumbs above the page title only on new sites. So this is it basically changes the standard install profile, modifies the the default layout to move the page or the breadcrumbs above the page title. And I don't know that this is again one of those. This seems like I don't know, like we'd want a certain amount of people to agree that this is a good idea. I think Jason might be the only one who's come out clearly in favor of this. Jen, you've originally sort of objected, but now it seems like you're sort of in the whatever.
Yeah, so I objected because I was like, you never know what's going on. Right. But I also don't have design vision. I'm design blind. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I was like, well, obviously that was just a design decision that was made, and there are people who don't like the design decision, but Tim has got it. You're like, no, this might go beyond design. This is now this is it's weird rather than just being quirky or something. And I have no opinion on whether I think it's weird or not, because I can't see that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fine if we want to move it for new sites, as long as there are a few of you who believe that it's better the way it is in the future rather than what it is right now. So
So it's being changed through the install profile. So it by default will only affect new sites.
yeah,
And it's also because of that, it's easy to change it in the future. But I think this is a step up. Gregory had a concern about, I think it was this issue, isn't it? This one that where with the block IDs. The block IDs in core on the core default layout are hard coded. So I just copied and used hard coded. I actually had to create a new block, and I just hard coded a layout ID. And Gregory was suggesting that we should randomly generate it.
Oh,
And I don't have strong opinions about this. I don't know if there's a good reason to do that, but I guess I don't also have a reason not to.
yeah, it wasn't a concern so much as
Right.
nitpicking, I would say, but yeah.
Well, Jen, if you looked at the pull request, you could see what we're talking about.
yeah.
And I don't know if you have an opinion on that.
Trying to find the most recent pull request. Let's try this one. I clicked the link in the sidebar.
That should be it.
Okay. Generating a random UUID. What was it before? Was it always that?
Well, so part of doing this was, I think breadcrumbs was their own block, but the title was the automatically generated title block. So I had to create a title block. And for creating the title block, I think I just sort of made a site and then copied the UUID from that and hard coded it.
Huh.
So there is at least one new UUID there that was not used before, but it's just static. But in core, our default UUIDs are all hard coded in the same way. We are not randomly generating them in core. So
Okay.
every new site has the same UUID for these blocks.
I have no feelings on this. I think like it maybe Gregory, we should have a separate issue that's like generate random UUIDs for all blocks and do it site wide rather than just doing it once in one block here.
Okay, I agree.
And then that way we can have like core developer feedback on whether that it's better to do that or to have a common one. Because if we have a common one, if we need to make a change to a block, at least we'll know if they've changed it or not. I don't know if that matters, but maybe they have feelings on it. I do have feelings about this page title combo block though. I feel like we shouldn't be, and this might be a 2.x issue, Tim, but I feel like we should not be placing that block to replace things that are in the templates. I feel like the right solution, and we can't do this in 1.x, is to move the things where we want them in the templates, so that the block doesn't have to exist at all. So I have a little concern about placing a block that's like kind of a workaround for a problem with our templates, but I don't know. Let me think it through and add a comment, because
Sure.
I might think it through and then talk myself out of that perspective. So,
well, I've thought briefly about it. Again, I don't see a problem in doing it. I recognize your concern. Again, we're not so much trying. I don't see it as we're trying to fix a problem in core this way, as we're just providing an alternative default settings. Because the expectation is that the user is going to manually change these settings, so we're just sort of helping them out in doing it, and it really doesn't change core as much as it just gives them some a different set of defaults.
Yeah, I think page title is weird. Page title tabs and that only do messages are the things that are a little weird, because they are both hard coded in the template file, and we provide a block.
Right.
And so I feel like, and this might also just because I have so much experience with like theme system in Drupal and Backdrop, that like using a block to fix the theme system bug feels weird to me. And I might not feel this way after I talk it all the way through.
Right.
But I feel like the only reason we added a block was a hack, because some people wanted to move things that should be moved in a template without writing code. And I feel like if we decide that the things we put in the template are in the wrong place and it's so bad that we need to put the block in, put the hack in to fix the problem, then we really need to fix the problem. And that doesn't mean we can't do both. Like maybe we can fix it now in 1.x by putting in the block and then move the things to the right place in the templates in 2.x. But I want to think about it a little bit more.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, this is a little bit like our CSS problem.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why the page title isn't just a block?
Because we can't have any pages where it doesn't show up. So we wouldn't want you to remove a block and not have a page title, because that'll break a whole bunch of stuff. Like the page title is used to generate your like meta tags and a bunch of other stuff. And if it doesn't end up in the render pipeline, it causes problems. That might be another problem we need to fix.
Could we?
But yeah, same with messages. Like you couldn't like not print validation messages on a form by removing the block on that page. So there's like stuff that you can't not have. And so the reason it's in the template is because it needs to always appear. And then the block does this crazy thing where it's like, if the block is in the render pipeline, then like hide the other render stuff. So it's a little funky from a DX perspective, but.
Wouldn't there be a way to like get the page title even if it's not printed out?
Oh yeah. There's also a way to like load the node, even if the node isn't displayed in the body, but right now it's still like required because that's not how it works. So there's definitely ways we can fix all the things, but yeah.
So we have another about 10 minutes. There's a few issues that I would like to bring up. Maybe we don't have the time to discuss every single one of them, but maybe bring the attention that needs feedback.
Can I ask quickly the CSS
Sure.
supplemental style sheets? Kind of where that's at right now is, again, this feels like there was a lot of controversy before we got a pull request. Now we have a pull request, and a lot of those people that had concerns aren't commenting. So my only concern right now is that we don't have enough unanimity to make this decision.
I think so. This might be something where, have we had a core developer look at it yet? It would be good to get a core committer to do a code review and get their feedback, because I think that might also color the opinions of other people who are thinking that it's too complicated. If a core developer comes in and says, "Oh no, it's fine," then maybe they're like, "Oh, okay, never mind."
Sure.
Has BW Panda looked at it since we?
So do I get it right that I know there was a pull request by Tim, but then you filed a separate one? Is that included?
Yeah. So Tim's had a UI element that just was a good example of like this, what it might look like with the UI, but it didn't actually do the conditional part. And then I filed one that did the conditional part, but didn't have a UI. So I think, there's two decisions to make. One of them is like, how do we feel about doing things conditionally? I know there was one person in the issue queue who thought really strongly that that was a bad idea. I don't know if they still feel that. I don't know if they've looked at the pull request or not. And then there was, if we do decide to do that, do we let people opt in or out? And then from a core developer like DX perspective, there's also the way that I did that was by setting the default like install version, like at what point did you install Backdrop, which I thought might be useful to have anyway. But then I used that to do the conditional setting of the style sheets. And there is slight concern that if somebody did want to include these style sheets rather than just including them in their theme or in any other way, they might change that value. And so maybe setting two values, one that's like default install value and one is like style sheet install value or something might be
we could avoid having something in the UI, but still have a setting for it, and then allow people, because now we have setting overrides in settings PHP.
Yeah.
Allow at least developers or people with advanced knowledge some means for people to just override this.
That's what I said in my pull request, is like if you want to change, you could. But the question is like, I don't think we should like encourage people to
give that option.
That value. So if we want to do that, if that is something we do want to encourage people to be able to leverage, we should set a different variable or config value for tracking whether which version of the style sheets will be included.
That would probably be a basis setting because this only affects basis, right?
Yes, maybe. I don't know. Because
These-
what if we had some changes to like a core module? Like, so this image field float thing, right? That's something that's provided by image module. And if we had a base, I don't know, it's another whole nother discussion.
Exactly.
But if we included a starting core version, we'd know that we could include both those supplemental changes.
You're not wrong, but I have totally been thinking about this as basis only all along. Not that I should be. It might make sense to allow it for both, but right. But
to go either way.
we have right. We just haven't talked about that yet. So
Yeah. So I would see if BW Panda hasn't had a chance to look at both recent pull requests, he would be the first person because he's already looked at it. He's a core committer and he had strong feelings against it. And maybe if he sees some code, his feelings might change.
Okay.
And then maybe we get someone else to look at it from a complexity standpoint too, another core committer, see what we think. We can ping Doc Wilmot or someone else who's been on the issue. Might be good.
Okay. Thanks. Gregory, your turn.
So I have a few issues, like 4 of them. Or 5. Let's get them. I want to get an easy one out of the way.
Sure.
It's 4562, which is rename locale module to interface translation. I don't think that locale as a word makes sense to non-English speakers. Like, it seems odd. And the description of that module is that it translates the built-in user interface. So D8 has changed that to interface translation, and I think that we should change that as well. The module name should remain locale, the machine name, but I'm talking about the, yeah. So I would like some feedback, and that's an easy fix, easy win there.
Yeah.
Issue number again?
4562. I think as long as the machine name doesn't change, I am in favor of making things make more sense from the UI.
Yep.
We might get pushback on core developers about there being a mismatch there, but yeah, we'll see. What I want to do is create a follow-up issue for 2.x to rename the module to match, and that might be enough.
When we do the certs, like in the modules page, it still comes up either way, because we search by machine name. So it won't affect that bit of the UI. And enabling the module via developer, like via code or Drush, won't change either. It's just what people see, and it's more discoverable.
Can you add that?
So
Can you add that into the issue summary, just so that if someone gets here, they'll know? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we already have a bunch of modules that don't match with their names and machine names.
Exactly. I was about to say that I hate the fact that the permissions, hate is a strong word. The permission page says node still instead of content,
We should
as
fix
in
that.
by module. Yes, I know.
You have an issue for that too? Is that the
No,
next?
I don't have an issue, but it's the next one. Let's decide about this one. All right, I have another one that's short, but I'm not sure if we're going to be able to discuss it. Maybe I'll just mention them quickly. All these issues have needs more feedback, so it's just a call for people to just chime in. It's 2185. It's an issue that you started back in 2016, Jen. It's about export, import, and their order in the UI. So yeah, we have a couple of people commented, including myself and team. So we would like more feedback on that. My opinion, as I state, is that people will search by task. So I'm looking to import first, and it seems odd that we now have single and full as an action or the first things that people see. But yeah, I might be wrong about that.
Okay.
Then the other thing that needs more feedback is 4575, which is the available updates page that gets too noisy. So we had an issue that has been merged, and that's to sort the modules and themes so that the ones that have security updates and updates bubble up on top of the ones that do not have any updates, that they're up to date. And then Indigozella mentioned that, had a good point there that, why should we include the ones that are up to date in that page? And others said that they prefer that. And then we have a separate issue about adding a filter on that page, which would serve both these opinions, and people could switch to whatever they like. and then someone, so I was halfway to typing a comment and saying, technically, hello, Mahmoud.
Well,
Yes, hi.
Hi. And then what I was about to say was that, just bear with me, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, that the page is called available updates. So technically, people that don't want to see the up-to-date things, they have like a valid argument there. And then we have those issues that where the update modules page includes core, and so does the update themes and update layout. So we have an issue about merging all those things into a single page. If there was a page that was called available updates, that's what I would expect to see. I would expect to see a list of all the updates that I have, a checkbox to check them, and then update my site. If I was to rename this page, I would call it components update status or something, because that's what it does. It shows you all the status of all modules or projects. But yeah.
So this is the report page right now we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
I'll finish that comment that I have halfway so that I have all my thoughts there, and I would like more people to comment on it.
Okay. I love the idea of putting a filter on here. Although,
Yes.
I don't know if any of our other reports have filters, but this one's a little different.
Yeah.
And I would also like, can you cross-link the other issues about consolidating the pages and stuff? Because I think it would be good to think about this holistically from the perspective of like, what are we going to do with all of the mess on the module section, the theme section, the layout section, as well as this page? Because if this page remains a report and we end up, I think you had a recommendation to actually create a new menu item called like updates. And that's where we put the update stuff. That might also be like in this, we could just rename this page to be like update status report or something like that. And then have that other page be the place where you do the updates. And maybe that means the information would be different. And it would, this page would be a good place to list all the ones that were, you know, up to date because it's a report.
Yeah. So in the comment that I have written, that's what I'm saying. But then at the end I conclude with, but if you have two pages that both of them list modules and both of them list their update status, one of them doesn't include the updated, but it offers checkboxes for you to action the updates, then why not merge all that into a single page?
So I think there's also like a, so in terms of my workflow on sites, sometimes people just want information and you can show them an information page safely. Like I can expose that to editors and they aren't going to be able
fair
to
enough.
Site. So there
Permissions
could be a
wise.
permissions argument there. I mean, you could also just hide all the buttons on the page based on permissions too. So I'm not sure how much weight that holds. But yeah, there are kind of different level tasks. And I think also like what's on the page is going to be determined by what it's intended for, because if it is a report, you do want to see everything. And if it's a page that just helps you update, you don't want to see everything. And I think that the problem we're having right now is that this page does both. And so that's why you get people with both opinions trying to figure out like, what is this page for? What should it do? So maybe we end up with one page with filters and permissions and buttons, or maybe we end up with two pages, one that remains in reports and one that remains active. But I definitely think right now we have 4 pages.
Yes. and 3 of them show core updates as well, which doesn't make sense because they're titled, whatever. Anyway, really quickly, I would like to mention another 2 issues. Just I want feedback on those. One is includes a pull request that I filed. It's issue 3122. It's again an issue that you have started back in May 2018, Jen. And this is about separating the help text for publishing options. So we have a huge piece of text at the end of 3 radio options. I filed the pull request. I haven't set that to needs code review or needs testing yet, because maybe I should, because I need more feedback. Like I've updated it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably change the status from I'll keep the needs feedback, but change it to for visibility reasons. Yeah, not to code review, just testing and feedback.
Okay.
So there was Nate had some concerns about how if we remove the help text, then the other two checkboxes there were sort of like blending in with the other options and there was no separation. I just used the on always expanded like field set within that just to, say this is different. Eventually we should have that. Yeah, we should have that nesting thing that we talked about multiple times. How C tools used to nest things and intend them a bit, so there was more. Yeah. Anyways, but until that's done. Yeah, maybe that's a good compromise. Anyway, there's a lot of things I need feedback on, and then I can get that.
Okay.
And then final issue, somewhat related, is 4563. Again, about help text and radio options, and yeah.
So this is for the page title block.
Yes.
Okay. Clean up options.
We look at what's issue number now, Gregory?
That's 4563.
I put a link in the agenda.
Got it.
Yes, thanks. All right. These are one of my recent favorite ones. So
interesting. So what does it look like now?
that's the screenshot as it looks now.
Oh.
So we say to people, if you leave the custom page title empty, the default title will be used. Then why shouldn't they click the default title option, which is there? Like one of those things. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that's because that was just the way it worked before.
Yeah. Anyway,
and so
it's
the
a tiny
help text
thing.
is really just describing how it works. Maybe not best.
Again, it's one of those tiny things that make sense to us that have know the history behind it. But if you look at this UI from a first sort of like person just evaluating backdrop, it's confusing. Too many options and duplication of an option there.
Okay, so question.
And again,
if we left it blank, would you expect it to be no title? Like, is the behavior wrong or is the text wrong?
Both. I don't know. It's a combination of things.
So there's a couple of things we could do. Like if we just decided the text was wrong, what we could do is like when you save this block, we could change it back to default page title. Like if you hit save without a value in there, so that the UI would then be a little bit clearer. Or if we want to change the behavior, that's a little bit more complicated. I also think that is a little trickier when you have existing sites, because you don't want to, them to have assumed it would work one way and then all of their default page titles disappear and become blank or something. But if we did decide we want it to be no title, then when you save this block, we could have it set the no title value instead of the custom page title value. So,
yeah.
But then we could remove the text because the interface would become more accurate.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yes, thanks. We've stepped into the dev meeting by 8 minutes. So.
Do we have conditional required?
Nope, but there's a trick to do it.
With JavaScript, right?
No. So states, if you place the required attribute to a form element via states, all it does, it adds the asterisk, it doesn't add validation. So you add that conditionally, and then you do custom form validation handler, validation handler.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Do you have other issues?
No. Yes, a lot, but no.
Okay, because we're out of time.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
All right, I am gonna stop the live stream and then we'll switch over to developer meeting.